So I would like to start off with this particular question as to it, which is looming in everybody's mind about today again. Mr. Trump has said that he is going to increase the tariffs on Canada. And with these uncertain economic times, Mark Carney taking over the leadership role, how do you see the situation and will he be able to counter this problem with?
No, this isn't time to play politics with beginners.
Christy, you had been lying low, but of late, when this leadership race was also to be there, we heard that you would be running for this. But then, probably because of your French not being very fluent, you withdrew from the race. But anyways, now because you are supporting Mike Carney, my question to you is that in future, do you have any plans to run for the Liberal Party from British Columbia? Welcome to this episode of the Harpreet Singh Show. The present uncertain economic times that are prevailing in Canada are a matter of concern, and especially with Mark Carney taking the leadership race, winning it, and now becoming the Prime Minister designate. What has he to offer? The gap between the Liberals and the Conservatives is decreasing, and the Conservatives are now just 1 point ahead of the Liberals, according to the latest Nanos research. So, on all these points, we'll be talking to a seasoned politician and former Premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark. Christy, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Harpreet.
Thank you very much for your time. So, I would like to start off with this particular question as to it, which is looming in everybody's mind about today again. Mr. Trump has said that he is going to increase the tariffs on Canada. And with these uncertain economic times, Mark Carney taking over the leadership role, how do you see the situation, and will he be able to counter this problem with Trump?
I think he'll do a good job. I think he's the best bet. I mean, certainly between he and Pierre Poilievre. I mean, think about this. Pierre Poilievre has no experience doing anything. He has never run a big ministry. He's never even really been a minister. And even Stephen Harper didn't see fit to put him as a full cabinet minister. On the other hand, you've got Mark Carney. He's been a central banker. He was there for managing the economy of Britain during Brexit and in Canada during difficult times as well. He is a seasoned, solid negotiator. He understands how the economy works. And he's a sensible, stable guy. He's not an ideologue with an axe to grind. He's a man who just wants to make sure that we find a way forward and make things work. I think he's going to be really, really strong for Canada at the negotiating table. It's exactly what we need in a crisis like we're in now.
So his position in the global financial stage is going to make him strong, and especially with the present circumstances that are existing, the trade war looming between Canada and US. What do you feel? How is it impacting the Canadians? Especially, we have always considered USA as an elder brother, but now with the situation absolutely changing, Ontario taking strong steps, including a surcharge on the electricity that is sent to America, and President Trump retaliating by saying that now Canada will have to pay for it. So, do you think that the present actions being taken by the Canadian leaders are good enough? And with Mike Carney coming on the stage now, how will things change, you feel?
Well, I think that first of all, the American people are our friends. I think they I think they made a miscalculation in electing Donald Trump, and they're not getting what they expected. And that's, it's sad, I think, for a lot of Canadians because we have so many friendships and family members cross borders on the continent here. But I think that Mr. Carney sitting down at the table with the Americans, his stability, his predictability, his deep knowledge of economic issues, I think that's going to be a good relationship with Donald Trump because I think, Mr. Trump respects strength and intelligence. And I think what he's, I think Mark Carney is going to be really, really strong in making sure he understands Canada's case. The other thing, though, too, is he's going to put together a team of people very carefully chosen to represent Canada in negotiations with the United States. So let's remember here that none of this is good. We all wish it hadn't happened. There's no doubt about that. But Canada has a lot of cards to play. We have Americans depend on us for energy and electricity, for agricultural products, for lumber, for cars. And if Canada isn't able or willing to send those things south tariff free, it's going to mean instant inflation in the United States. That isn't good for President Trump. It's not good for Canada either. But I think Mark Carney will be able to bring that voice to the table, bring some sense to the negotiations and the discussion, and some really good voices, some really smart people who are going to help us on our side make our viewpoints known in the U.S.
So, as a seasoned politician, Christy, do you think that the steps that have been taken so far by the Canadian government, whether at the federal level or the provincial level, are good enough? And especially in Ontario, the surcharge that has been introduced. So, all these stands, do you support this or something more needs to be done?
I think both. I support it, and I think we may need to do more. I think that what Ontario is doing has been really strong. The tariff on electricity, with you may know, on the bill for their American customers, it's also going to say this is because of the tariffs or something like that. So that's they're playing, I think, a very smart game there. I think Alberta needs to do more, absolutely, and I think British Columbia needs to do more too. I mean, we've put a tax on, we've acted against liquor that comes from the Republican states, but not all of the states in America. I think we really, if we're going to be strong as a country, we need to be consistent and we need to be consistently tough. So it really needs to be a full Team Canada approach. And I mean, I don't think we can sit back and take this because remember this. This is not just about tariffs. It's also about Donald Trump saying he wants to annex Canada. And I don't think that that's an empty threat. So we have to deal with that very seriously and recognize we need to protect the integrity of our borders, the integrity of our national interest as we fight this tariff war at the same time.
Christy, since the time Justin Trudeau has resigned and since Mark Carney threw his name in the ballot for the leadership race, the gap between the Conservatives and the Liberals has been decreasing from a two-digit lead to now just 1 point lead. Why do you think that, again, the Liberal Party is on the surge?
Well, because I think a lot of Canadians are looking at the comparison between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre and saying, holy smokes, only one of these guys is qualified to deal with Canada's situation in what is really a national crisis for us, one like we haven't seen in decades in this country. So, Pierre Poilievre, a man with no experience at running anything, who's extremely partisan and ideological, who is someone who really has been seeking to divide the country like no other leader we've ever seen, versus Mark Carney, who is a seasoned negotiator, who brings real common sense, will bring real common sense to the negotiating table and calm in a period of crisis. And in addition to that, he's one that seeks to unite us as a country rather than divide us. And this is a moment where Canadians absolutely need to be united. We need to be elbows up, like Gordie Howe, but we need to be united in making sure that we are standing together strong. And, this isn't a moment for divisive politics. This is a moment for people like Mark Carney.
So, like you said, Carney has been, criticizing the divisive politics that has been played. And how do you think he will play an important role in bridging the gap? Because, what we have seen in the past is what happened in USA, where Mr. Trump has been given statements. Similarly, those have been said by Mr. Pierre Poilievre also. So, do you think that also has made an impact on the minds of the Canadians, that he probably would not be the right leader to lead this country?
I think that's absolutely right. I think that people look at Pierre Poilievre and kind of get the sense that he's in it for himself. He's in it to try and get ahead in politics and get a job that he's always hungered for. Well, we don't need that kind of leader now. We need a real professional in there with experience at negotiating and someone who has proven to be strong in the storm. And he did that during Brexit in Britain, and he did that in Canada during the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. I mean, Mark Carney is someone that we can really depend on to stay calm in very difficult times. We don't need someone who's just, who's kind of been a professional backbencher all of his life in politics. We need someone with experience, and we need someone that we can have real confidence in, that they understand the nature of the problem and know how to solve it. And, this isn't time to play politics with beginners like Pierre Poilievre. We need seasoned professionals like Mark Carney.
And Chrissy, how do you see Carney's leadership style differing from the current political leadership that we have seen in the past?
Well, I think Mark Carney is a different kind of politician because he's not really a politician. And he has been leading the financial interests of two of the most important countries in our world anyway. He really understands those economic issues at a time when the world is in turmoil. I think he really will bring something very unusual to politics and unusually important at a time when the same old thing isn't just going to work.
And as far as British Columbia is concerned, it is a hub for both economic growth and environmental concerns. And Mr. Carney has also raised his voice regarding environment also. So how do you think Mark Carney's vision aligns with BC's priorities?
Well, I can tell you one of the things that I like about Mark Carney the most is that he understands economic issues. And as you know, Harpreet, when I was the Premier of British Columbia, my whole goal throughout that was to create jobs, grow the economy, build big things, and try and make sure that people had fatter wallets at the end of the day, lower taxes, bigger paychecks, and more opportunities to seek jobs. So that was my whole goal. We succeeded, I think, very well in British Columbia. Mark Carney has the same vision for the country. And from my perspective, there is no more important job for leaders than making sure people can feed their families and build their futures. You can only do that if you have a big wallet and a growing paycheck. That was always my goal. Mark Carney shares that goal. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this change in leadership and the potential for him to be elected prime minister in the general election, because we need to bring that BC perspective, that BC strategy of creating jobs in a clean economy to Ottawa, because what we did here really worked, and I think we need to export that method to the rest of the country.
You have a lot of experience in politics, but Mike Carney does not have, though he has worked with the politicians. So if you get a chance to sit with him, what one particular advice would you give to him so that he can, in this present uncertain times, he can benefit the country?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I bring to the table is the hard experience of really getting the whole of government focused on economic growth. I mean, really, that's what we did. It's not easy to do that. Mark Carney has a lot of experience at dealing with bureaucracies and with government. I have lots of real life experience at a big economic plan that works all across ministries of government. So, if I end up at the table with Mark Carney at some point, I certainly like to be able to contribute some of my experience at doing that, because we have to grow this economy. We have to diversify our markets. We have to find customers other than just the Americans. One of the reasons we are so vulnerable right now in this trade war is that our economy is not as strong as it could be, and that we haven't spent the time that British Columbia did, between 2011 and 2017, growing our markets overseas with countries like India, China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, and then of course in Europe. So lots of work yet to do. I have lots of experience at that, and I hope I can contribute that to the government in whatever way they ask me to.
During your tenure as Premier, Asia Pacific was given a lot of preference. So, especially when you say the present circumstances that are existing, do you also think it's a blessing in disguise for us that we start thinking about other countries also? Because, especially with the Arctic passage also opening soon, and a lot of focus is on that, there will be plenty of opportunities which we have not given any attention to in the past. So, do you think now we will understand that we need to divert our trade to other countries also?
I hope so. I mean, in British Columbia, when I became the premier, we understood this thoroughly. It was the very first thing I did was start trade missions. I think I visited India, boy, 3 or 4 times. I can't remember. I loved it. I loved those visits, though. I was always treated so warmly by everyone there. And China, Japan, Korea in particular, we have to get focused on those export markets, because the thing for Canada is twofold. One, we need to develop the resources and the products that we need to be able to export. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to find people who want to buy those products. So it's a twofold task. It's something we did extremely well in British Columbia. We had tons of success at it. And again, this is something that the federal government should be doing, I think, with us all. So we need the federal government back at the table to lead trade missions, Team Canada, like Mr. Chrétien used to do, take all of the premiers over to Europe and to Japan and to China and to India and talk about how we're going to do some more business with them. They want what we have. We have some of the best environmental policy in the world, the best safety policies for workers. We have a strong judicial system. Those countries want what we have. They want to do business with us. We want to let them know that we are open for business in every province of this country.
As a former premier, you understand the pressures of leadership. What qualities do you think Mark Carney brings to the table?
Oh, he's experienced pressure. I mean, the financial crisis and then Brexit. He knows what it is to work through some very difficult times. And, he steered both of these economies in the right direction during very difficult times. I mean, I think it's easy to forget how stressful that period after 2008 was. I mean, I became premier in 2011 and inherited a significant deficit as a result of that crisis. Mark Carney was a big part of helping make sure that this country found its footing in difficult times. We fared better than many other countries, certainly the U.S. after the financial crisis. I think he can take some of the credit for that. And again, with Brexit in the U.K., he knows what crisis feels like. He's very, very good when times are tough. I think he's the right man to lead.
Christy, you had been lying low, but of late, when this leadership race was also to be there, we heard that you would be running for this. But then, probably because of your French not being very fluent, you withdrew from the race. But anyways, now because you are supporting Mike Carney, my question to you is that in future, do you have any plans to run for the Liberal Party from British Columbia?
First, the reason I didn't run for leader was not because of my French. My French is
Oh,
actually
wow,
not
that's
bad.
good, because we in the media this was said that Christie is withdrawing because of her French.
I know. Well, the reason I didn't run, and I was pretty clear about this, although it wasn't, the reason I didn't run is because I realized it wasn't possible for me to win. There wasn't enough time to make members, to get all across the country. The Liberal Party process was very short, because I don't think they'd expected the Prime Minister to resign when he did. So there just really wasn't enough time to put together a strong enough leadership campaign in order to win. That's why I didn't run. But having said that, I'm very glad that Mark Carney is now our leader. I think he'll do an amazing job, should he become the Prime Minister. Am I thinking about running? I am considering it because I want to do something to help. I want to make sure that Pierre Poilievre doesn't become the Prime Minister. And more importantly, I want to make sure that Mark Carney does. So I will find some way to help in the election to support the Liberal Party of Canada. I've been a Liberal all my life, as you know, and I want to contribute. One of the ways I could contribute is by running in the election. There will be other ways, though, that I could do that as well.
Well, best wishes and merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. À bientôt.
Vous êtes tellement gentil. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for your time. And it was a pleasure talking to you after a long time. Best wishes for whatever you plan to do for future. And with your experience and knowledge about politics, we feel that you will be a good asset for the party and for British Columbia. Thank you once again.
I appreciate it very much.
ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਰਕ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੁਝ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ 'ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਮੁੱਖ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੋ ਟ੍ਰੇਡ ਵਾਰ ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਕਿ ਮਾਰਕ ਕਾਰਨੀ ਕੋਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਲਈ ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਲਾਹੇਵੰਦ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਸਹੀ ਲੀਡਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਪਾਸੇ ਲੀਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਏਵਰ ਬਾਰੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਡਿਵਾਈਸਿਵ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਸੀਡਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਦਾ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਰੇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣ ਲਈ, ਅਤੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਏ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਮਾਂ ਬੜਾ ਘੱਟ ਸੀ। ਫਰੈਂਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਖਲੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਸੀਡਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ, ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਮੋਹਨ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ। ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਮੋਹਨ ਪਿਛਲੇ 32 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੀਗਲ ਐਕਸਪਰਟੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਹਰ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਲੀਗਲ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ। 4 ਬ੍ਰਾਂਚਿਸ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ, ਸਰੀ, ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਅਤੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ। ਸਰੀ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ 604 598 0988 604 598 0988। bridgemohan.com 'ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਹਨ AMC ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ 11 ਬ੍ਰਾਂਚਿਸ ਨੇ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ, ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਦੇ 7 ਦਿਨ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ। 604 507 6666 'ਤੇ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਸ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। 604 507 6666। ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਹਨ ਅਗਨੀਹੋਤਰੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ। ਟੈਂਪਰਰੀ ਸਟੇਟਸ, PR, ਨਵੇਂ ਹੋ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੋ ਨੀਰਾ ਅਗਨੀਹੋਤਰੀ ਨਾਲ। 2006 ਤੋਂ ਸਰਟੀਫਾਈਡ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟ ਵਜੋਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਓਨੈਸਟ ਅਤੇ ਰਿਲਾਇਬਲ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇਣ ਦਾ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। 604 597 2284 604 597 2284 'ਤੇ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਹਨ ਸੁਖੀਬਾਦ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਅਤੇ ਟਰੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ। ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਟਰੱਕਸ ਲੈਣੇ ਨੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੇਟਸ 'ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅਰੂਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। 604 580 1000 604 580 1000। ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਹਨ ਭਰਤ ਜਿਊਲਰਸ। ਗਹਿਣੇ ਲੈਣੇ ਨੇ, ਕਸਟਮਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਾਉਣੇ ਨੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੇਟਸ 'ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਪਾਇਲ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅਰੂਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਓ। 604 593 1111 604 593 1111 'ਤੇ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਸੰਤ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਬਸੰਤ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਸ਼ੋਅਰੂਮ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਲੀਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੇਟ 'ਤੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। 604 572 78 80 ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਨੇ SK ਹੋਮ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਸ। ਘਰ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ, ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਨਵੀਂ ਦਿੱਖ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਨਾਲ। 35 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਦਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੈ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਰ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਮਸ਼ਵਰਾ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਨਵੀਂ ਦਿੱਖ ਦੇਣਗੇ। 604 825 9295 604 825 9295। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ, ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਹੈਵ ਅ ਵੰਡਰਫੁਲ ਡੇ।